to the UIAAA Connection podcast. GoFan and VNN are proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the UIAAA Connection. Now a combined company, GoFan and VNN provide a seamless integration for digital ticketing and athletic websites. Direct your fans to one place for all your athletic events, communications, and tickets to home and away games. Thank you to GoFan and VNN for their exclusive sponsorship of the UIAAA Connection.
Welcome back to another edition of the UIAAA Connection. I'm your host, Mark Hutch Hunter. Today we have as our special guest, Marcus Matua, Certified Athletic Administrator, the Director of Athletics at Hurricane High School. Welcome to the podcast, Marcus.
Well, thanks for having me, Mark. It's nice to be here.
Let's have you begin by sharing with our audience here in the United States and around the world where you grew up, where you went to school, your first job, etc.
Well, I was raised in Kearns, Utah. I was born in Long Beach. Then my family moved from California to Kearns, Utah, and was raised there. And then served a mission in New Zealand Auckland mission, and then attended BYU when I was a freshman and a sophomore. Then it took a couple years off. Decided to work and went to work as a youth counselor at some private group homes. And then once I got married, I decided it's time to go back to school, and then ended up finishing my undergraduate at UVU. And then 2 years later, I received my master's in educational counseling at University of Phoenix. And then once I got that, we moved to Santa Clara to start as a guidance counselor at Snow Canyon High School in 2008. And then in 2013, I got my master's in educational leadership from SUU. And then 2016, got my first job as an administrator at Mill Creek High School, an alternative school here in the Washington County School District. And so my wife and I have 5 kids. Two are graduated, and then one that's now sophomore, beginning of sophomore year here at Hurricane High School. One that's going to 7th grade, and we have our caboose who's going to be a kindergartner.
That's awesome. So talk about that time at the alternative high school when you first started after you got your second master's. Was that tough? I mean, working with those rougher kids?
No, it was actually good, and I would say because of my experience working with troubled youth, it was an awesome experience. Working as a counselor at the Snow Canyon High School, there was this negative connotation for Mill Creek High School, having all these bad students go there that can't cut it at a regular high school. And then just having that 1 year experience over at Mill Creek High School just totally changed my train of thought. And those kids that are there, those students that are there, and as I work there, they're not bad kids at all. They're just kids with different demographics, different things going on in their lives. They just need a different environment so that they can be successful. And it was awesome. And if they had an opening, I would go there in a heartbeat. It was just so awesome to be with those students. The enrollment number was low enough where you could know every student and connect with them. So that was just a great experience for me at Mill Creek High School, and I wouldn't change it for anything. And any of our kids here at Hurricane High School, if they need another place to go to, I support them going to Mill Creek High School.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. How does a counselor then go from counseling into athletics and then to athletic administration? How did that work?
Well, I'd always, as a coach, so at UVU, I took coaching classes. And from those coaching classes and the coaches that taught that, coaching football, coaching volleyball, how to be a successful coach, I then took some of that knowledge to implement a fall, spring, and summer football league over there at Slate Canyon Youth Center at the group home for the state where I used to work. And we would have competitions between our 2 secure units, 16 boys each, and we would just go and play. And so that grew my love for coaching. And then from there, I worked with a good friend of mine who's now an assistant AD at Payson High School. And he asked me if I was interested in coaching football. And so in 2006, I got my first opportunity to coach football at Payson High School, coaching the varsity D line, and loved it, fell in love with it. And then from then on, it just expanded from there. And then wanted to coach and wanted to be a counselor as well, because I wanted to continue to work with students. It was too late to go back, and for me, in my mind, to go back and try to teach and get a teaching degree. So I thought the best way to get into coaching for me would just be a guidance counselor route as well as coaching, and it's worked well for me. And so that's how I was able to get to Snow Canyon as a guidance counselor and continue to coach there.
Let's have you share with the audience some of the mentors in your life, teachers, coaches, parents, bosses, other people that have made a big influence on you.
Well, definitely, first and foremost would be my father. I mean, my dad was always a part of what we wanted to do, especially when it came to basketball. And basketball was my first love, and he put us in basketball when we were young, and then he helped coach us too. And then when it came down to club and joining a club team, Coach Dale Gates for 3 years was just a phenomenal coach, and one who just showed us how to play basketball, and how it was not only just the game but also connected well with many of the boys that I played with. And then when it came to high school, all my high school coaches, Coach Knapp, Coach Anderson, Coach Sorich, and Coach Congdon, were influential in my life. And that's when I was like, coaching could be something that I would love to do. And then currently now in high school, when I was coaching rugby, football, and girls basketball at Snow Canyon High School, those coaches were awesome in actually finalizing my philosophy and how I interact with students, interact with parents, as well as interacting with officials. So my rugby coaches were just great that way. And it was always from there, you never talk back to the official. If the official says something, you walk off the field. And that's how we do it as players as well as coaches. So that was influential for me to help me calm my mind down and my aggression towards officials. And then Coach Wade Jensen, also, who's now a district administrator for us here at Washington County School District as a girls basketball coach, just to see his demeanor during games and how he would talk to officials and how he would talk to players was also influential for me. And then my bosses now, every principal that I've been able to work with has their own different philosophy and how they approach leadership and connection and culture. And I've learned at least one or two things from each of them into how I can be a better leader myself.
Well said. A little bit of a personal question here, Marcus. What's your biggest failure or disappointment in life, and what did you learn from it?
As I was thinking about that, I wouldn't say quite yet failure, but a big, big mistake in my life, I think happened about a couple years ago. And it just came down to, I'm a very loyal person, especially to the ones that I work with. And so to my principals, to my administrators. And we had something set out, an expectation for a coach. And my principal left, and he said, this is the expectation. I want to make sure that it's followed through with. If it's not followed through with, then please let me know. Well, after the game, it wasn't followed through with, and I noticed this. The expectation wasn't met, and so me and my stupidity and my emotion, instead of waiting for a good time where emotions aren't high, a better time and better place, I disregarded that, and it ended up being a confrontation on the field, and it ended up being not so good of a discussion with our coach. Well, district administration got involved. They got my side of things. They got everyone else's side of things that were involved, and they had a meeting. They met with the coach, and in my mind, this whole time, I thought I was in the right. That everything that happened was because of this coach and he not following through with what the expectations were. Well, a couple of days later, district administration met with me, and it made it quite clear that I do a good job in administering and doing my responsibilities. And our district administration made it clear that what I needed to work on was my delivery and my connection with coaches. And as I thought about that, it just came out, and I get too emotional. There's too much emotion involved in it. It took it too personal. And from then on, it shouldn't have been just a discussion, but what it came out to was a big argument that should have never happened. So 2 weeks, for about 2 weeks, I was thinking about it and finally realized, you know what, it was my fault. This whole thing would have never happened if it wasn't for me and the way I acted. And so I remember talking to the coach. We had a good 2-hour meeting, and it just came down to, this whole situation should never happen because of my emotion, taking things personal. And I apologized to him, and it was good. He came in, and it was a great meeting. We're now good friends now from what had happened. And so what it came back to it for me, and for what I need to learn and be better about, is always remembering compassion and empathy for our coaches. And so, an understanding, they're just as busy, they're just as stressed as what goes on. They make decisions based upon what they think is best for their program. And if they don't meet the expectation, well, guess what? There's another time and place to address that instead of after a competition. So since that happened 2 years ago, and since then, it's always been on my mind just to remember: take the emotion out, don't take things personal, and be compassionate, empathetic to what goes on.
Thanks for sharing that. Let's talk about the job of athletic administrator and talk about the changes that have happened to that job since you got the job 6 or 7 years ago. Take COVID out of it, because that was a mess for everybody. But since you've been an AD, how has that job changed?
Someone asked me that previously as well, and it just seems it gets busier and busier every year. The expectations for athletic administrators. And so, and I'm not just talking about those that are just in admin positions where they're also the AP, but I also see those that are also teaching. It just gets, more and more responsibilities in regards to scheduling, in regards to management. And game management seems to be something that I'm continuously working with because people don't want to do it anymore. And so now the addition of more sports coming in, an addition of more activities, the expectation that parents and other administrators need from us to make sure that we're supporting our student athletes and students at these events. And so it just seems like it just gets busier and busier. I myself have the expectation as an AP that I need to also be in classrooms to observe and evaluate teachers and meet with them and their teams. But it just seems like with everything that comes with athletics and ensuring that we want the best athletic programs we have and that it's functioning well, the games are going well without any hiccups. It just seems like it's more and more.
Let's talk for a minute about the UIAAA. How did you hear about it? How did you become involved? Tell us about that journey.
So 7 years ago, and I heard about UIAAA as soon as I became an AD, and I remember when we had an AD meeting, it was brought up that the discussion was made that all ADs needed to be CAA certified. And I remember here in our district, we were talking about, no, that doesn't need to happen because we're already certified administrators. And I took that route and I followed that. Yeah, there's no need for me to get my CAA or be a part of the UIAAA. I can just go and do my trainings that I need to, but there's no need for me to be certified until I went to the NIAAA conference in Nashville. And then that's when I realized, seeing Trevor there, being a part of the UIAAA and just going to those meetings, like, man, this is more valuable than I ever thought. And that ended up being the best conference I've ever been in my 7 years because it was more applicable to me and what I do as an athletic director. And so from then on, I made the decision, and talking with Mike Winslow, who's the first, he was at Crimson Cliffs and he's no longer the AD there, but he was the first one here in our district to be CAA certified. And I wanted to follow in his footsteps. I think there's some value there. And so I've attended the courses. I realized, from then on, I'm going to go get my CAA, and I got it done in April. And I'm glad I did because that's the route I want to continue to take. And that's the development I want to continue to work on so I can be a better athletic director. And I would advise anyone that's questioning it or whether they should do it or not, go ahead and do it. I love the courses. I love the people that teach the courses. I love when people are there so you can hear their experiences that they have. So that way it can help me to be better in what I do.
Thank you. My next question was going to be about the certification. So maybe we can just revisit that and have you delve more deeply into, I know you just mentioned why you should become certified, but let's talk more deeply about that and maybe some more advantages to some of those people that may be on the fence.
Well, so like I said, it was just okay. I'll just go here, do this, do that, and so that way it can help me in what I want to do. And so, the courses and the law courses were the ones that I loved the most, especially when they talk about accountability and making sure we follow through with all these things that come out to for us to remember to think about and to make sure that this is what we're doing. For instance, right now, locking fields down. Well, people are still jumping the fence. They can still get hurt, lawsuit or not. Something can happen. And I'm trying to do everything we can. I'm like, if it wasn't for these trainings, I'm like, I don't know if I would be ready or prepped to understand, to help my administration understand that this is what needs to be done. And so the trainings that I've gone to have been, in my mind, have been priceless for me, because it's helped me to understand as to, okay, this is where I need to be. Do I need to set this in place? An emergency action plan. Do I need these? I'm like, oh yes, we need these. Oh, we need that. We need this. And so it's helped me to understand this is for me to be successful, for our programs to be successful, and I believe our district is involved in it too. We need to make sure that we follow through these expectations, and it comes from the UIAAA or the NIAAA. And so I know there's a couple more ADs that are in our region right now that are talking about getting certified. Now, as I've talked to them, I would encourage them, continue to encourage them. That's the route to go, especially for me, because I don't plan to be a principal. I mean, I love what I do as an AD, and this is my track. And so any other, UIAAA or NIAAA trainings that they have, I want to be a part of that.
What's one common myth about being an athletic director that you would like to debunk to the general public?
That we don't do anything. I'm like, you just think we sit at our desk and not do anything. And I'm like, man, you come and switch me for one day, then you'll see. Then I'll ask you if you really want to do this or not. Because it's we have our responsibilities that we need to do. We always know our daily tasks, what we need to do to get them done, but it's pretty reactive. I'm like, there's something falls through, then we're on it. We need to get this taken care of. We need to get this taken care of. Oh, I missed this. Oh, I missed that. Here, let me take care of this. Oh, this fell through. And people just don't understand. They just think, I'm just sitting on my desk just doing nothing. No, it's like, no, I'm sitting at my desk trying to schedule things, trying to manage things. And if trying to put out fires, when it comes to parents and sports, we have an AP that can deal with parents too, but anything that deals with sports, they hand it off to me, and becomes a fiasco, especially when these parents have goggles on and think their athletes are number one athletes, and it just becomes, you know, busier and busier. I mean, right now we're dealing with parents right now that wanted our baseball coach to be gone, and our soccer coach to be gone. Well, our soccer coach resigned, and now we only have two. It's been open for 2 weeks now. We only have two applicants, and so now we're going to hear from parents like, "How can we have two applicants?" And like, because no one wants to deal with parents that want their coaches fired, and so it's just they think we don't do anything. So one experience I had with basketball was you tell coaches, deal with the parents. If you have something in place to have a grievance policy, great. Then meet with parents before they come and meet with us. Well, our new basketball coach, the community loved him. He's a community member. They loved him. They thought, this is our pick. This is our pick. Welcome to find out. Now these same people are like, man, this is the wrong coach. I can't believe you guys hired this coach. And so now they now they want this coach to change, or they want some share some ideas, and as these coaches have realized, they're like, man, and you deal with this every day. I'm like, every day for 18 sports. Yes, that's how it is. And you're just dealing with one parent for basketball. I go, and this is how it is. It's just reactive to what we do. And a lot of people think that we don't do anything, that we just sit behind a desk. And I'm like, man, I would love for you to come and see what we have to do and what we have to organize. And then you can make that comment. Then you can find out, make a different comment on how you wish it to be.
That is so very well said. I can remember the days. Of course, it's been years since I retired, but I remember getting to my office before 7 a.m. and having 10 phone calls that need to be answered before I was off to class at 7:50 in the morning. And that's just to start the day. And of course, this was years ago. It just gets there, like you say, more and more sports, more and more supervision, more and more squeaky parents who want the coach fired, and then they can't get a new one because no one wants to deal with you as parents. So I get that is so very well said. So thanks for sharing that. What's the favorite part of your job, Marcus?
Supporting student athletes in their activities, my favorite by far. I mean, and connecting, especially the ones I connect with. I love supporting those kids. You know, I think it was in beginning of May. So they had the state orchestra solo ensemble, and it was free for me. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go to that. I want to go support these kids. And the kids when I went there, and the kids were like, "You're here," and they were excited to see me there because this is my first time going there. Well, you had one student who was like, "Oh, it's nice to see you here." And then as I left, I heard him saying like, "Is there another activity up here that he's coming to as well? Is that why he's here?" And I told the orchestra, the orchestra teachers, like, "No, this is the only activity that we had this week, and I wanted to be here." And so just seeing the kids and the teachers and the coaches value the support that administration gives them, that's the most rewarding. And supporting them in their activities, that's what I love the most.
Let's have you talk for a minute about. I know you're coaching, but not with this. You're coaching like your younger kids in football. Is that right?
I was coaching, not anymore. And so I'm coaching my daughter's basketball squad. But as far as Little League football, I'll help out if coaches need it, just like I'm helping out now. I help out with the varsity football team right now, just during the off season. But when the season starts, I'm no longer on board. So I help coach. I help coach it, and that's what I love the most, is just being around with the students and connecting with them.
Excellent. Let's finish with a couple of questions, Marcus. The first being, what are your two suggestions for a brand new athletic director? And they would need to follow Marcus's two suggestions in order to become a success. What would those suggestions be from you?
I would say one, just to make sure that you have a spouse that will allow you to have the time to go do these things, support the kids in their events, and if they're supported that way, that will go a tremendous uh, uh, that will work out tremendously for them. I know, and the reason being is because we do so much as athletic directors, and so I say that because my wife has been very supportive. But I also know that there's ads that have wives that aren't, or spouses that aren't supportive. And so I say that because we've had coaches who have had the opportunity of choosing whether they want to be the AP or they want to be the APAD, and they have chosen the AP route because of how busy athletic directors are and what they deal with. And so for me, APAD was the choice. I would take that any day over AP. And that would be my first that would be my first suggestion. And if you get to have a supportive spouse, that'd be awesome and great. The second one would be get certified. I'm like, these classes are so awesome, and the best way to be prepped and to prepare for the athletic director life is to get certified as a CAA. Take those courses; those are invaluable. Those are good courses that will help you succeed. And not only that, just the people that are already in there, that have already had these experiences and learning from what they do, is just tremendous to help you out, to help me out to be successful.
Excellent suggestions. Thank you so much for sharing. We'll finish with this. Marcus, what question should I have asked you that I failed to ask you?
I don't think you failed in that regard at all. I mean, these questions were very thought provoking for me, and I'm like, man, these are really good. And so I thought you did a great job sending me those questions and to help me prep for this interview. So thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to touch base with you, Mark, and seeing a legend himself who's no longer a part of it. I mean, you've been, I mean, I don't know you personally, but what I've heard from you and what your involvement in the UIAAA is just, it's just been awesome. And I wish I would have been there a lot sooner so I get to know you even better. But you've always been a gentleman to me. You've always been respectful to me, and I appreciate and love that.
Well, thank you so much. On that note, that wraps up this edition of the UIAAA Connection. Again, our special guest today has been Marcus Matua, Certified Athletic Administrator, the Director of Athletics at Hurricane High School. Marcus, thank you so much again for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Mark. You take care.
For our listeners, we hope you tune in again next week for another edition of the UIAAA Connection.